welcome to Nature Field Trips. We're going to get into our lesson for today, which is the parts of a flower. So we kind of have our more basic outline over here, and then we're going to go a little bit more in depth with our advanced, okay? So thinking generally, when we're looking at our flower, this top portion with our petals is our flower. Now, every plant is not the same, so flowers are not expressed in the same way, because technically all plants have kind of these structures. But we have our leaves, which are essential for doing photosynthesis. This is where plants get their energy. And we have our long stem, and underneath, generally speaking, underneath the soil is where we have our roots. Okay, and this is our advanced model, all right? So looking a little bit more in depth into these reproductive parts of the flower, we have, again, our stem, which we saw in our more basic model, a leaf, and moving up, when we're kind of looking at the flower, that kind of bottom bulb area is called the ovary, and continuing up, they normally have these very gentle leaves that kind of curl off. They're smaller. These are our sepals. And moving up again a little bit farther, that's where we meet our style, which is very skinny. It's often confused with our stigma, but the stigma is more of a thicker structure. It literally looks like this, and our style is a lot more straight, a little bit more wispy. Moving out to the sides, we have our filament and our anther. So if you were looking at like an orange Asiatic lily, this is the orange stuff that is going to be getting on your shirt, those long kind of twig-like things, and it looks like it has something on the end. That's what we're looking at, our filament. And then our anther is what is carrying the pollen, which is essential to this process. So when we touch those flowers and the anther sticks to your clothes, you're participating in the process of pollination. It's getting stuck on you and moving to a new flower. Now, the trick with flowers is that this is kind of how we talk about them in science with every single part, but a lot of flowers don't have all of these parts, so it's kind of a trick. So when you're looking out in your backyard trying to identify all these parts, if you're looking at daisies or dandelions or maybe more of your backyard flowers, you might not be able to identify all of these, either because they're very small or they don't even have them at all. So don't get frustrated, just review and see what you can find.
All right, guys, so we're into our activity today. We're going to be pressing flowers. Just a couple of notes before we get started. Before you press the flower, see what parts you can identify while it's still 3D, and then after you press it, see how maybe the parts look different, and write down the differences in your field notebook. Also, when you're pressing flowers, be sure to get permission to pick the flowers. So if you are in your own garden, you can pick whichever ones your parents say are okay. And if you're picking maybe from a neighbor's garden, make sure you ask first. If you're out in the wilderness, there are certain places that you're not allowed to pick leaves or flowers. So just be aware when you're going and harvesting those things before you go and put them in your field journal, if you're allowed to take them or not. Okay guys, so for our activity this week, we're going to be pressing flowers. Now I have a flower here and a leaf, just so I could show you that it can be done with other things as well. So I have a leaf and I have a flower. And the cool thing about pressing flowers is that you can then identify the parts later on. So we're gonna press this flower into our field notebook, and I'm gonna show you how to press the leaf just between some paper towels. But either way, you're gonna stick your flower or your leaf either between some paper towels like these, where you can just stick your leaf in there and then press it that way. Or you can put it on a page that you don't really care about. This is one that I used. I did some drawings and things on the other pages and it bled through. So these will sometimes leave stains on your paper. So you want to put it on one of those pages and not on your mom's nice scrapbook. So you'll arrange the flower how you think it will look once it's flat, and then you just carefully close the book on it, okay? I'm just gonna stack these together. So we've got our paper towel with our leaf, we've got our field journal. You can see I have some pressed flowers on the back of my journal, so that's what you can do after they've been pressed and dried. You can just tape them on, but for now, we're going to press them with some heavy, heavy books. So I've got 3 heavy books here. If you can't find these big of books, I find that the entire Harry Potter series is usually enough to press your flowers, so. All right, guys, so we're back a few days later after pressing our flowers. I've removed the big heavy books that we used, and I'm gonna remove the paper towel to show you So this is what our flower came out to be. You could see it was a really big, fat flower. He's pretty skinny now, so that came out pretty good. And then our leaf, which was already pretty flat, is now very nice and straight and flat. So now I can take these and I can either put a little bit of, like a little dab of glue on the back and stick it into my journal, or onto a piece of cardstock or anything like that and label it. Or I can put a little bit of clear tape over the top of them, like I have on the back of my field journal here. So I've just put some clear tape over the top of these flowers to kind of help preserve them in place. So you can do either one, just as a way to mount your flowers onto something, or you can leave them pressed in between your pages. Alright guys, so that is all for our field trip science today. Be sure and leave those flowers pressed in between those paper towels or inside your book for a little while. They're going to need at least a week to dry out, so just go ahead and leave them there underneath those big heavy books. And then once you're all done, go ahead and send us some pictures of the flowers that you found. Maybe point out the parts that you were able to identify, and write it down in your field journal. But send us some pictures, comment down below. We'd love to hear what experiences you're having with your field trips, and we will see you all next Friday.